Hey, this is Michael from michaelsaves.com, and today I want to give you a few tips and tricks on how to use Google Sheets to maintain your budget. Google Sheets is a free tool, and this is what I use to track my expenses primarily. When you open up Google Sheets, you'll see at the top, Start a new spreadsheet, and Monthly Budget is the template that comes with Google Sheets. That's the one I use. I just make a few modifications to it. Let me open it up and give you an overview of how it works. So what you have here is there are two tabs. There's a summary tab and a transactions tab. This is the summary tab and where I spend most of my time actually setting my budget. You'll see expense categories as well as income categories. And then the second component is the transactions tab, also expenses and income. So as you spend money, you can add it to the expenses tab and then it will be reflected on the summary page. Let me show you how that works. So if food is one of your categories and you plan $250 in spending a month, there you're setting your planned spending for the month. When you go to the grocery store, after you pay, before you even get in the car to go home, you can open up the Google Sheets app and you can record that transaction. That's exactly what I do. So let's say I spent $50 at the grocery store. I can categorize it here as food. And then when I flip back over to the summary page, also available with the Google Sheets app, you'll see that it's been recorded. It knows that I spent $50 at the grocery store, and now I have $200 left to spend. So I've really gotten in the habit of opening up the Google Sheets app on the go, checking my summary tab before I make a purchase to see if I have enough money, and then afterwards recording the transaction. There's something that is not part of this template that I felt was kind of missing after using this for a couple of months. And what I like to do is separate my expenses, my fixed expenses, and my variable expenses. But that's really not how Google Sheets is set up. So what I do is I add a sheet. You see I just clicked on the plus sign there. And this sheet is for fixed expenses. What do I mean by fixed expenses? Well, I mean the mortgage. If you have HOA dues, your cell phone bill is the same every month. That can be a fixed expense. How about your internet bill? Insurance payments? And utilities, some people like to include in fixed. I do, even though they can vary depending on the time of the year and the season. So once you have your list of your fixed expenses, how much you plan to spend on them, you can add them up. So take a look as I'm highlighting, going over here to the right, and I'm clicking sum, pressing return, and I've got a total of $1,595. That's my sample of the fixed expenses for this month. So what I do is I go to the summary page, and instead of having those categories included here, I'll make a category for fixed expenses. And then I just type in 1,595 for planned. And that way I don't have those fixed expenses in my face. What I'm really focusing on with this monthly budget template is my variable expenses. I want to make sure that I'm not spending too much on my groceries, on eating out, on entertainment, and other things that can sometimes slip away. Sometimes your money can slip away with. So here's another sample. I did a more complete version of how this looks, flipping over to one that I've already pre-filled. And you see I've got my fixed costs at the top: groceries, restaurants, health, transportation, home projects, travel, pets, and stuff I forgot to budget for is a big one that I always include, and also savings challenges. If you're saying, oh, I want to spend $3,000 or less this month, you want to make sure that savings is part of that. And for me, savings challenges is separate from my 401k, which comes out of my paycheck. As you may notice, I do not, although this is still a sample, I modified it to how I actually use Google Sheets, and I do not include my income with Google Sheets at all. I use Personal Capital and Mint and just log into my online banking to make sure that the numbers are correct there and that my paychecks are going through. But as long as my expenses, my planned expenses and actual expenses are lower than my income, I figured that I'm doing a pretty good job. So what I've also done here is in the template, you'll see that the starting balance was 1,000. I have just made that 0. So now I've got this, so it's just tracking my expenses. Over to the transactions tab, I did a similar example. Like I can do another one for you right now to show you. Let's say I spend $100 on a big meal out. See the listed categories, and that would be restaurants for me. Flip over to the summary page, and there it's reflected. Finally, there's the fixed costs. You have them here. I will go back at the end of the month and record the actual fixed costs. For things like utilities, they may fluctuate, and also insurance. I may want to comparison shop every now and then. Same thing with cell phone, internet service. There are some of these things that, although they're the same price every month, you can still negotiate deals, but it's not an everyday type of thing. So that's really how I use Google Sheets to manage my money. The other thing is if you have a partner, you can share this budget with them by using the share button here in the upper right corner, and that way you can both add in transactions on the go using the Google Sheets app. If you have any other tips for Google Sheets, just let me know. And if you like this video, also let me know and visit my blog at michaelsaves.com for more tips like these.